Jets, Seahawks. Going through what y'all need to know to make some money on this bitch. So let's get to the picks real quick. We got the Seahawks favored by 14 and a half at home and an over-under set of 47. First thing, you cannot touch the Seahawks minus 14 and a half. Absolutely not. They are incapable of covering large spreads, and you're going to see in this game they're going to do some dumb shit, and it's not going to happen. That being said, though, Jets plus 14 and a half, not safe in itself in this specific game either. So I think that's basically a stay away. I'm definitely on the Jets side of that, but I'm not going to bet on it. The over-under, though, I feel pretty good about the over. Not a super strong thing, but over 47 is definitely pretty good. But stick around. I'll tell you how and why. That's how it go down. So first we got Jets offense versus the Seattle defense. Injury-wise, Greg Van Roten out, guard for the Jets. And importantly, Denzel Mims out, receiver for the Jets. That's a big one. Denzel Mims is really good. James Crowder also questionable alongside other starting guard Pat Elflein. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and assume they both play, but if James Crowder doesn't play, if you see that, then you can kind of scrap a lot of this, and then I actually would land on the Seattle side pretty decently, despite it being such a large spread, as well as the under for sure. But I think he's going to play. So, and nothing important on the Seattle defense. Carlos Dunlap questionable. I don't really care. So, offensive line versus defensive line. This is not a bad situation for the Jets. On the interior, Jets still not very good, especially without Van Roten, who's definitely the best of the three. So you probably look at Josh Andrews starting at guard there. But Seattle's interior is not very good either, especially they just really lack the ability to make plays in the backfield. Jaron Reed has flashed games before Reed does that, and he might a little bit in this game too, but it's nothing consistent. Now, is it going to be a ton of push, like actually moving the line of scrimmage from there? No, but it's not going to be awful. And on the edges, I mean, the Jets have a big advantage. Mekhi Becton, very good. George Fant is good. Seattle fans are watching this. He was misused as a run-blocking tight end when he was with Seattle. He has been good since he's been on the Jets. Not great, but good. And you're going to see that they have an advantage on the edge. Seattle's edge defenders they're fine run defenders, but Mekhi Becton is going to smoke them pretty regularly. And Fant, actually, he's not a great run blocker, which hence the problem with him being used that way. So he's more of a neutral situation as far as the run game goes. But that's a big advantage on the one edge for the Jets. On the second level, though, Seattle very good at linebacker between KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner. Jordan Brooks was really concerning against the Giants, but I'm not going to dig a whole lot into that yet because that's not necessarily something I've seen a ton in his other games, although it's been there. But here, the Jets scheme even worse than the Giants as far as rushing the ball goes, and their offensive, no one on their offensive line is capable at the second level. Pat Elflein can athletically get there, but he misses all the time. And there's not a ton outside of Mekhi Becton comboing off of the edge, which is possible. But yeah, so the overall run game, it's whatever. It's gonna be mediocre. Seattle's defensive front is bad enough that there's some chances, but with Frank Gore getting a bunch of carries, I'm worried. If it's Ty Johnson, I'm a little bit more encouraged because he's at least fast, but it's nothing I'm scared of if I'm the Seahawks. As far as the pass game goes, pass rush wise, again, this is a game that's going to be pretty much nothing from Seattle. I mean, on the interior, the Jets are really vulnerable, but you're depending on Jaron Reed to take advantage of that. Is basically the only capable interior rusher on the Seattle side, and he is probably not going to any meaningful extent. And on the edges, the Jets tackles and pass pro are significantly better than the Seahawks rushers, including Carlos Dunlap. Even if he plays, he's pretty mediocre. He had one kind of flash game against bad tackles first game here or in Seattle, but Becton's good. Again, Fant is good in pass pro, and the Seahawks edge rushers are trash. So, although I will say Jets tackle's not perfect, so over Sam Darnold holds the ball too long, there could be edge rush, but it's not something that is like an advantage for the Seahawks. So then the receivers. Now here, I'm actually a little bit encouraged compared to what I'd normally be for the Seahawks because Denzel Mims is out. The Jets are down to Rashad Perriman, who I think actually is maybe the only receiver in the NFL that Shaquille Griffin can meaningfully limit. Rashad Perriman is a bigger bodied, like, downfield guy that Shaquille Griffin can actually run with to a point. And so here is probably the best matchup he's going to find. Normally he gets pretty roasted consistently, but here he'll be okay, I think. And on the other side of the ball, DJ Reed hopefully starts again, showing pretty decent, and I think he can handle whoever's on the other side for the Jets. I'm assuming they have two guys, last name Smith, Jeff and Vincent. Jeff Smith flashed a little bit earlier in the year. I actually think he's all right, and even Vincent Smith last year, I don't hate, but either of them, I actually probably trust DJ Reed more in that matchup. In the slot, though, Ugo Amadi, Seattle slot corner, trash. Jamison Crowder actively good. So Jamison Crowder's gonna be open constantly in this game, unless Seattle compensates for that defensively somehow. I don't know if they just double him every snap, but regardless of what they do, Jamison Crowder's gonna be good in this game. So then you talk about Darnold versus the defense. Now Darnold is bad, but he actually is in a pretty comfortable situation here, not dealing with very much pass rush, and with Jamison Crowder being a real big notable safety blanket alongside chances downfield because Seattle's still bad in the secondary. It's not impossible for the Jets to like consistently move the ball just like they did last week against the Raiders, which or even with Joe Flacco, they did that against the Chargers. Now it's more driven by their receivers having Denzel Mims, but yeah, I think their overall pass game is going to be okay. No, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Like I might like mediocre to okay is about the extent that it's ever going to get for the Jets. But without a pass rush limiting them, I think they're going to be. Yeah. So I have them at 14 to 21 points, and I would be very surprised if it was lower than that. Although I will say there's a little bit of a chance that they settle for field goals instead of touchdowns because they're the Jets. Darnold's not good in the red zone, but Crowder helps there, and then being able to actually rush the ball a little bit helps too. As far as the Seahawks offense goes, so first thing to note, as always with the Seahawks, just remember that no matter how good the matchup looks, they're going to do a bunch of dumb shit because their offensive coaching and infrastructure is really, really bad. So injury-wise, though, Jesus, this is a great matchup for the Seahawks. Ashton Davis out for the Jets, starting safety. They're already down their normal starting safety, Bradley McDougald. He's on IR. So they're going to be on their third string free safety opposite Marcus May, which is, I don't know if it's going to be Tyus Farley. They just signed a guy named JT Hassel from the Browns. I don't know anything about him. So that's tough. And then Jordan Jenkins, good run defending outside linebacker for the Jets out too. So when you talk about running the ball for for Seattle, the Seahawks, it's going to be not very good again, just like you see all the time because their run scheme is terrible. They ask their bad offensive linemen to do everything, and they are not going to push on the interior like at all in this game. Folaransu Fatukasi, the Jets nose tackle is good. Quentin Williams is borderline great. And their other spot, whether it's Henry Anderson, John Franklin Myers, Nathan Shepard, are reasonable too. So you're not going to see push from the interior outside of very tiny flashes of it, I guess, because the Seattle guards are pretty big at least. And then even on the edges, it's a little bit better for the Seahawks because Jordan Jenkins is out. Then you're probably looking at Terrell Basham on one side for the Jets and Bryce Huff or Jabari Zuniga. I'm not sure exactly who's going to play the most snaps on the other side. None of whom are great run defenders, but they're not trash. Terrell Basham actually is a little bit okay in that, and I like Bryce Huff a lot more as a pass rusher than a run defender, but I think he's actually played well. So, and the Seattle tackles are not good run blockers at all. Brandon Shell's okay, but he isn't anything special at all, and Dwayne Brown much more of a pass blocker. So you're talking about like bad push again. On the second level, there the Jets linebackers definitely vulnerable. Neville Hewitt pretty mediocre. Harvey Longy not impressive at all. Or Henry. But again, with the way the Seattle runs the ball, they just do it so fucking stupid that they don't take advantage of how bad linebackers are. They're just kind of hoping Chris Carson gets past the line of scrimmage and they use athleticism to break tackles, which is definitely possible in this game, but it's never something you bet on consistently because it's not going to happen consistently. So the overall run game is just kind of whatever. I mean, there's chances because of the Jets not having great run defending edges, but nothing consistent. And then the pass game, I mean, pass rush first, there's going to be a lot of interior pressure. Quentin Williams significantly better than any of the interior players on the Seahawks, like by miles. And even Henry Anderson can get there. And John Franklin Myers, I mentioned, he's actually pretty good as an interior rusher, and he can beat them too. On the edges, Dwayne Brown is going to be fine in this game, but Brandon Shell has notable struggles with straight line speed rushers, and Terrell Basham is actually reasonable at that. He's not crazy. I'm not going to overrate him, but he's something. And Bryce Huff, like I mentioned earlier, he actually has shown pretty good hand placement, hand usage. I kind of like him as a pass rusher, so I don't think the pass rush is non-existent. Now, the receivers versus the corners, that's a fucking disaster for the Jets. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett are going to kill them. So I've talked before about how I don't think either of them are particularly good at like the actual receiver route tree, which is true, but here don't matter so much. DK Metcalf. So okay, look at it this way, right? Jets are starting Lamar Jackson, corner Lamar Jackson, Bryce Hall, and Arthur Mollett. Bryce Hall is actually decent, but he's still a rookie and he still has a little bit of vulnerability in Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf is going to be the better end of that matchup. Lamar Jackson, who I actually like as like a knockoff, lengthy Seattle press corner, cannot keep up like physically with Tyler Lockett just with speed, and cannot physically keep up with DK Metcalf at all. So while I like him in other situations, not here, he's gonna get fucking cooked. Marcus May is a good safety, but he can't fight fires all around the field, and especially as a deep safety, he's just not that great. And without their other starters, you're talking about just a kind of black hole at safety opposite of him, which when you can't throw that against Russell Wilson. The Seahawks are going to win this game, I can guarantee you. So their money line too, I should have mentioned before, is a lock. But their overall pass game, while extremely explosive at times, is going to have times where their dumbass offensive scheme / Russell Wilson trying to do a little bit too much causes them to punt. So yeah, I think overall I have them at a point spread of 27-34. So it's still it's still way up there because they're just so every play is chances at 50+ yard gains basically, unless they're already past the 50. So it's going to get bad, but do not underestimate how dumbass the Seattle Seahawks are. So that's why at the end of the day, I actually end up with the Jets plus 14.5, but I don't think it's bettable because there is a chance the Jets end up settling for field goals, and then in the fourth quarter, Seattle kind of pulls away. It's unlikely because the way Seattle plays, they're probably just going to try to run the ball into a fucking brick wall in the fourth quarter. But regardless, I'm not betting on it. But the over, I feel good about because Seattle can score at will in this game, and with the Jets being able to score, I think that incentivizes the Seahawks to move with them up. So decent about the over, not crazy though, because there is a chance that both the teams are too dumb and settle for field goals, kind of like what you saw in the Chiefs Broncos game last week. But I think that's unlikely. So decent on the over and Jets plus 14.5. Don't bet on that, and do not bet the Seattle minus 14.5. And that is Jets Seahawks.